The Spider-Man multiverse thing. That's true. So even like before that, right? Like, shout outs to the boy Sukin. Sukin, like, he tagged me in this, right? He was like, "Yo, Steve, do you see this shit? Let me blow it up. Do you see this shit right here? Do you see this? Spider-Man, the multiverse, you know? Like, honestly, like, this is definitely something that easily could have just been like stolen from like the DC universe, right? Um, because now we're dealing with like all these multiple dimensions and like these new characters, but they have recently announced this week that Jamie Foxx was coming back as Electro in the new Spider-Man film. Still previously untitled. It's still untitled, right? But it's a new Spider-Man film that's supposed to be filming next year, next May, something like that. And Jamie Foxx, a character from Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man, uh, is coming back, which makes sense. See, now it makes sense though, because if you think about it, this is perfect because they already kind of set this up in the previous Spider-Man movie where Mysterio came out and said, "Hey, I'm from Earth 616," right? Saying that he's from like the comic multiverse. Which, if you saw in the trailer and you watched it with me, we knew he was lying because 616 is obviously the actual comic book universe, right? This says Tekken 7. I don't know why that does that. So we knew he was lying, right? Well, at least I knew he was lying. But that also lets you know that like the characters in the MCU are partial to that belief now that they have these other universes because of what's happened in the main MCU, right? So at first, right? At first, I'm like, this is a Sinister Six movie, but like now, like I feel like they're kind of crossing a lot of things over each other. What's crazy is they're still following the comic book route of being able to give you an explanation for all these crossovers, right? And it feels like if you go back and you look at all the things that they've shown you, like they've kind of pointed at this being a thing the entire time because they pointed out in the Spider-Man MCU with I was about to say Tobey Maguire with Tom Holland. They pointed out a Bone Crusher poster, right? The Randy Savage character from the Sam Raimi films, right? So like that character only existed in that movie. So if you point to that character, you add some kind of you make it canon to a degree, right? It could just be, you know, a write off of sorts to be like, well, hey, that was pretty cool. We see you and kind of pay homage, but it was there, right? So then you see the J. Jonah Jameson crossover. And I'm gonna tell you right now, like I actually did not think that it was gonna be a thing, right? I didn't think that was gonna be a thing. To think that it was a crossover thing, I didn't think. I thought it was like them using the same actor to portray the same role. But yeah, so they're kind of like overlapping all these things. And then we saw in the newest Morbius trailer about the living vampire with Jared Leto, we see Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, show up, right? But it's Michael Keaton Vulture that was in the Marvel movies, right? But you see behind him on a poster that that's Tobey Maguire Spider-Man on that poster, right? So how are all these things connected? Like they're all connected in some way. Jamie Foxx being casted as Electro in a new Marvel produced Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, which recently announced today also just added Doctor Strange. That's fucking crazy. Did you guys see that? Did you guys actually hear about that? So Benedict Cumberbatch actually is added to the cast of the next Spider-Man movie, right? So and like apparently they were talking about like Kirsten Dunst coming back. Like I'm reading all of this shit, and like I feel like this is like a big like setup. Like I know everybody is like, "Hey man, this is a Spider-Verse movie," and like I'm right there too. But I feel like this is like a triple play by like Marvel, right? Because if you read comic books, you do know that Spider-Man has had like a clone thing where there was multiple like Peter Parkers, like with the Scarlet Spider. Some who actually come back, right? but they also have like multiple universal identities that fuck with Spider-Man, right? Madam Web, uh, Doctor Strange, of course, is somebody else that goes interdimensionally between everybody, right? But there's other characters. There is one more character that I think people are kind of like ignoring. Yo, so I have so many theories. I have so many fucking theories right now. I have so many theories that it's actually kind of crazy. Yeah, Madam Web, also. Um, but I feel like there's so many things. I feel like Marvel is actually hitting us with the triple play, bro. I think all of this is gonna like kind of tie into like the Skrull invasion, right? Multiple copies who we know and who we don't know, who looks like what. The fact that we have had two canon roadies, two MCU canon roadies, right? So we have Terrence Howard as well as Don Cheadle. There was also rumors that Tom Cruise is rumored to play an alternate dimension Tony Stark. And for those who don't know, he was rumored to be one of the people in the running for the role. And all of this can just tie into interdimensional, the whole nine. This is definitely a good one. MCU Empire crossover. Nah, but I mean, also, I think people are forgetting one more. So there's one more character. There is one more character that I think people are forgetting in the Spider-Man lore, who would be an amazing addition to this movie and would also blend like the multi-universal appeal. No, not Doc Ock. Uncle Ben would actually be the fucking twist, right? Uncle Ben's like Madam Web. Anyways, that would be so whack, actually. I would not like that. Moreland. Yo, Achilles. Bam. Moreland. Moreland is a hunter of Spider-Man. Like, basically like the essence of Spider-Man, right? And it's a interdimensional thing. And the storylines, there's been like two big crossover storylines. And like, it's just a fight that like Spider-Man cannot win, right? Like, it's almost like he can't win the fight. But there's so many different things Marvel could go with. And I think that's what they're banking on to throw off like the diehard like Marvel fans. I think they're really banking on the fact that like there's so many different angles they can take with having multiple Spider-Man like reprise their role, like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. Like, they could do a lot. Like, that could change like everything. So Moreland hunted down and killed multi-dimensional Spider-Man. That was his goal. That's what he was meant to do. Like, literally, he only exists to do that. And like, they feed off the essence that makes Spider-Man Spider-Man. Now, how can they write that? I don't fucking know, right? I don't know how they can turn that into something digestible for people who don't like read comics, right? Or just how they wrap this character around. But also, they can use that character Moreland as well as Doctor Strange to kind of explore that, right? They can use the fact that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man can come back. What if they get killed by Moreland? What if one of the reasons, like, you can account the dimensional rift to the fact of the new timelines, right? You can literally say that because of the ruptured timeline that they tried to correct, but obviously did not because you know, Loki is still alive and he got away with one of the stones. You literally can tie all of that together now. You can say that Doctor Strange is going and repairing the multiverse. And if that's the case, WandaVision can be the start point for like the multiverse crossover, right? But one of the other lasting effects from it could be the fact that you still have Skrulls here who are taking up the roles of some of these other people and they don't remember. I don't know how they would write in the not remembering part, but that's the only thing that would make sense. I mean, like, if you're wanting to tie all those things in, this is just me looking from like every conceivable angle. Like, if I had to like ball all these stories up into one thing. That's like kind of the things how I would write it. They can do good with the multiverse stuff in live action. Now it also leads me to believe this is how they like I think Miles Morales is going to make a jump. I think Miles Morales makes a jump, and they do like some fucking not Looney Tunes, but Roger Rabbit as from cartoon to live action, and that would actually be ridiculous because if they took the Spider-Man from the one that everybody loved, the Miles Morales from the Spider-Verse movie, and casted an actor, and put him in the Spider-Man Spider-Verse movie to introduce him, that would be one of the most magnificent moves I've ever seen. And you can still use the Spider-Verse movie to see how Venom exists, how they interact with Peter, as well as how the Vulture got over to these other universes as well. And this can all be tied to what happened from the first snap. That could all be still affecting everything that's happened. So that means you can still have a way to go back and introduce some of these other characters or reintroduce them. And then once that's said and done, right? Like you're talking about like 3 big ass crossover storylines. And I know that I'm gonna lose a lot of people like in this translation because quite frankly, you can't write it all out, right? I'm literally just spitting it as it comes. Off the top of the dome, I'm giving you guys this, right? So let's just say the Spider-Verse movie plays out and it's like, well, hey man, you have this Moreland creature that because of the Spideyverse and because of the snap fallout can get between these universes, and he comes and he starts taking out these other Spider-Men. And that's how you introduce Andrew Garfield. That's how you introduce Tobey Maguire. And that's how you make it all like canonical, right? But you can also say that Adrian Toomes, Michael Keaton's character, literally went to that universe or is already like displaced from this universe and is gathering up all these villains are trying to make a Sinister Six that way through the multiverse. Then you can tie in the scrolls to the fact that once again, some people have been infiltrated. We already know Nick Fury's being infiltrated. What if you apply that to how they found out about the identity of Peter Parker? There's so many things that you can do. And then once you're done with that, right, you can make a Secret Wars movie where you put all these heroes against each other. I'm going so deep down the rabbit hole right now. No, I already said Miles Morales crosses over in the Spider-Verse movie. But are they going to do that now? Like, is that the play to make Into the Spider-Verse like live action right now? That's crazy. Doctor Strange is about to be a next level ass movie. So like, let's just say this, right? And just so I can like put this all in order, right? They show WandaVision, right? And WandaVision, I feel like is definitely gonna alter reality in some sort. They can say this is all tied to the snap as well as her controlling it, right? Like her knowing about changing reality, her interaction with the stones can make that, like all these things can like wind up and they can say, well, hey, reality has changed. They've already done it in Spider-Man to say, hey, this guy's from another dimension. So they're already believing this, right? Another timeline. They're like, look, man, this guy's from another universe. So they're already buying this. This is already digestible information for the people watching. So you start with WandaVision and the altering of reality, right? Doctor Strange comes and he's like, well, hey, well, look, because of the snap, because of her doing this, I have to go clean up these pocket realities. So now Doctor Strange is not only going from WandaVision, but to his own movie, but to also Spider-Man's movie. And we don't know how big this cameo is, right? But I will say this, if you're a Spider-Man fan, there is team-up movies that you understand, that like team-up comics that let you know that this is a very real thing. Doctor Strange and Spider-Man are best friends. No, but like, yeah, like, but think about that though. There's so many angles that Marvel could actually take in making this movie. What if this movie is a 2-parter, right? How big is Doctor Strange's role, right? I think there's so much they can do. This could be like a 4-part movie series. Dude, this would be fucking nuts, dude. I'm like getting hyped just thinking about the kind of shit that they could do with this movie. And on top of that, I will say this. I don't know if you guys saw Amazing Spider-Man 2, but the electro dynamic of how Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man interacted with him, it was very reminiscent of like comic book Spider-Man. I'm not saying like the movie was godlike, but the interaction of him like idolizing Spider-Man and then going to be like, man, I could fuck Spider-Man up. Like, I love that rationale. One, two, the battle that they had, that shit was sick. Like, and I saw that shit in 3D. So I'm really, I'm not mad at Jamie Foxx coming back, but there's so many ways on how they can tell you that this character has went over to Tom Holland's universe, right? And they have so many people that they've already pointed at, like the Shocker, they have the Vulture, Morbius as well, Venom is now probably going to be a part of it. You still got Carnage. Like, there are so many characters now by extension that you can add to the MCU on some like multi-universal, right? I think so. Killer Flow says he's super confused about the scrolls. In Captain Marvel, we'll see them as good, but the replacement of the Avengers applies that they're bad. I think it's more about them living in secrecy than anything. I think that's more about what it is. I think a Sinister Six movie is already coming. Like, the way that they introduced the villains in Spider-Man, it's already leading up to like being like, oh well, now you have to deal with this character now, and now like they gave you like Matt Gargan already, right? Like, there's so many characters. Like, the thing about Spider-Man in the MCU is like the character fallout and like the development of these guys becoming villains is so comic book-esque. Like, you get these guys in panels that were there to witness like shit that Spider-Man did or got stopped by. Like, the fact that you see that, like, for me, it's like, oh, this is the coolest shit in the world, right? But like, it's valid ways of storytelling, right? So like, it just makes it so much better because it's like you have two different groups of people observing this, right? And even though we're looking at the same thing, like, we're pointing out two different things, you know what I'm saying, that like that stand out to, you know, these people who are new as well as these people who have been watching this shit. That's crazy. Bro, like, it would be if we don't get live action Miles Morales, I would be out of my mind. Like, that would be crazy. If that's not what comes from what's happening right now, I really don't understand. I don't know, man. What do you guys think? Would you guys be... Yo, also, Miguel is one of my favorite Spider-Man. He has to be there in some way. Like, they're going to point to... Any character that you saw in the Spideyverse, I feel like will be legitimized by this crossover. I think that, like, they're going to do a Spider-Man, like, Spider-Verse movie, and Miles Morales from that exact movie will translate over. Like, because that's exactly what they did in the comic books. Miles Morales was not in the main Spider-Man continuity. Not in the comics, anyway. He was not originally part of the 616 universe. He was part of the Ultimate Universe where Peter Parker died. He saw it, and he became Spider-Man. And then when that universe died in the comic books, he came over to the main comic book universe. It would be dope if it had, like, in all honesty, I don't see, like, why wouldn't you do that right now? Right now, you have a Spider-Man Miles Morales game that's about to come out. You are working on a sequel to the movie. What if the Spider-Verse movie on Sony ties in the second one? What if that ties into the MCU? Giving you a completely circular, like, going right back around. What if they did that? Because they've already hinted. As you see this gift right here, that's what's crazy, right? So this gift right here is proof of that. This gift right here, well, I can't make that bigger, huh? Can't make that bigger. This gift is proof of that, actually. Because this was in the Spider-Verse movie. And this is based off of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man right here. Like, this is all, like, based off of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. So, Spider-Verse movies tell you that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is a thing. Or maybe, once again, these could be just nods to said universe, right? Can't cannibalize your product. Spider-Man-Verse 2 makes more sense. Well, what if they do, like, Spider-Verse, right? And then the animated Spider-Verse is the Spider-Verse 2. And Spider-Man 3 is the third movie for the MCU. And they make that Spider-Man, like, 3... into the Spider-Verse, like Spideyverse, Spidey-geddon. They definitely have a Spider-geddon, so I didn't make that up. That's a real thing. It only sounds stupid because it's real. An older Miles wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't think that's too far from an idea. I think that the way that we get Miles Morales is that we get the death of Tom Holland. What if that happens? Or actually, you know what? They're not gonna kill him. They're going to make him. They're gonna do what they did in the comics. They're gonna make Tom Holland, basically Tony Stark, and not like the pompous Tony Stark, but the more collected Tony Stark. In the comic books, he goes on to be like the international Spider-Man and traveling all over the world, right? Kind of like Tony Stark, and he had like a more high-tech suit and everything. That was like the fallout from something else. But like, think about that. Like I said, I'm just, once again, this is all just comic book stuff coming full circle, and I know it's like, oh my God, Steve, but that's the way my head works. Like I said, I think they're gonna do some Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit shit, and blend Spider-Verse 2 to make Miles come into this universe in some way, shape, or form. That's what I think. What's today? October 8th, 2020. That's what I think. I think Miles Morales Spider-Man from Into the Spider-Verse is going to cross over to the MCU when it's said and done. I think when it's said and done, that will be the most amazing transfer of character. Like, and don't get me wrong, I was not a fan of the way it happened in the comics, but if you made it MCU, I would be 100% okay with that, because the movie sets it up so perfect. That takes too much time and money. I don't think it takes that much money. I don't think it takes that much, and I don't think it takes that much time. I don't think it's gonna. Nah. What's wrong with 5 or 6 years? That's completely believable. We've been watching Marvel movies for 10 years to set up movies. You don't think they wait 5 years for that? If they came out, right? If one of these movies came out first, right? Let's just say Spider-Verse 2 comes out first, right? Right? We're not gonna be alive in 5 or 6 years. That's kind of dark. Okay, you need a hug. But what if it's like a 3-part series, and then like the last movie is like the Sinister Six or something? Execs wouldn't profit. Damn, Otori, you're gonna shoot my dream in the heart like that? That's fucked up. I hope it happens just because you said that. I hope the universe spites you by making it happen.